Yes, coffee conversations. There I am. Good morning. Coffee conversations with Greg J is on. How y'all doing today? Eh, you know, we're doing it all right out here. Made it through. Grateful. Just living in a space of gratitude these days, right? Still out here offering culturally relevant conversations about what's going on in our world, how it affects us from a global perspective. That's what we're doing today. Really, really excited. Talk about manhood. You know, a lot of feminine energy in the world, and that's okay. It's cool. I love it. It's all good. More power to the sisterhood. I love it. I love it. I love it. So oftentimes, maybe this is how I'm feeling. So if y'all want to get mad, you can hit me up and email me. But I'm just saying how I'm feeling. I feel like, being a black heterosexual male is not a good thing. Being a courageous man is not a good thing in these days. A politically incorrect, toxic masculinity. I hear all of these terms, right? So get into it, man. Father's Day is coming up. We had Mother's Day recently. Thank you, mothers. Happy Mother's Day. Let's talk to Brother Cornell Ward about courageous men. Got to bring the brotherhood in here. Let's talk about this thing. Brother Cornell, how are you today?
Oh man, I'm blessed by the best, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh man, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in a minute. I guess pre-COVID, but now we're outside and we're still linking up virtually, but it's still okay, brother. You look, this is one of my tribe right here, you all.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, man. Just great to see you. Great to hear your voice, and great to be had the opportunity to be on the show. So
Yes,
thank you.
nice, nice. Thank you so much. All right, so you wrote the book. Courageous Men. You heard what I said there. Before we get into what the book is all about, I mean, you are an honorable man, and as I spoke, from my center of just being, a man, as my dad and my uncles and them raised me up to be. And
Mhm.
now it just seems like our breed of manhood seems to be like, okay, not so good a thing in this world.
Well, when you grow up sometime in an environment that is considered unstable, poverty, being poor, being black, being uneducated, uh, it almost seems like a burden that is extremely heavy on a man they call the black man. So, that happened to be me and 30 others who compiled some information together with Dr. Berry. And the book went number one. It's called The Heart of a Black Man.
Nice. The heart
Sorry, I
of a
don't have it
black
on the
man.
screen, but that's it. You see a man, black man, with his hands in chains.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's very compelling. It's many stories, testimonials of men all across the country who played a major part and a role in it. And I think it's a great reading. Well, it got 5 stars on the reading. Again, it's Amazon top bestseller, and so I'm just honored to be a part of it.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Now, when you hear all of these stories, Cornell, man, all these, like right now, everybody's talking about the sister Ebony K. Williams, who got on the Breakfast Club and she said she wouldn't date a bus driver, and that sparked conversation upon conversation on what it means to be a black man in America.
Mm, mm.
What are your thoughts here? Are we? No
You know,
good.
it is we are extremely good. We're extremely great. We're extremely fabulous. We're extremely faithful. We are the chosen one, and so a lot of times, if you not being hated on, sometimes you're not doing the right thing anyway. So bless her heart. I hope it works out for her. Hope she don't get a bus driver, but she might get a truck driver.
Right. Yeah. Yes. There's
Or limos or whatever one she perceives she wants or she wants to have, let that be.
All right. Well, what is the general thread in your book, The Heart of a Black Man, that you found talking about as they shared their feelings out in the world?
Well, I shared because of my upbringing, and the topic of mine was from digging a grave to planting seeds, and is because as in my youth, uh, living in South Central Los Angeles in LA, I played a real detrimental role in what was taking place in the early '80s, and like I said, when you are in a state of mind of what you see once you step outside that doors, or even sometime inside the doors, I lived in a dysfunctional household, so I understood about child molestation. I saw my mom get beat on. I seen the abuse. I felt it, and though a kid sometimes doesn't really understand that he lives in a war zone when he don't even know what a war zone is, because it's just custom for him to be in that state of mind, because a child can't tell you where he or she gonna live and how they gonna be reared and raised. That's just how it is, and then you're expected to follow the American way or the American dream and go out and get all A's and B's in the classroom and be a scholar. And that's like, come on now. But that's a lot. And that can be that burden, I believe, at some point is placed on all um, our babies that are living in that environment and in those communities, urban, black and brown.
Let's go back a little bit in history. I mean, when I met you, we were putting together the fabulous Fourth of July fireworks show out there at Exposition Park, and that became
Absolutely.
a Hall of Fame event. You know,
Man, I'm talking about.
wow,
I know that they haven't did it that day since we did.
I know, right?
Man, they need to bring that back.
Hey,
Yeah.
look, well, yeah. But
Okay.
when I met you, I mean, you were already, man,
Yeah.
making a difference in the community in a very large way.
Mhm.
Uh, you, I guess you were associated with, but you introduced me to Pete Carroll, and now the Seattle Seahawks head coach, but he was over there at USC and everything like that.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about your history prior to your activism, and then what is the shining moment that said, hey man, I want to give back to the community as opposed to, um, you know, falling victim to
All the other stuff.
all the
Well,
other stuff.
it was when the opportunity came where I was living that life that wasn't expected to survive. You was either gonna die or go to prison for life,
Mhm.
and I had several light bulb moments that I was able to see uh, that affected the change that I had to make.
Mhm.
And I had a girlfriend, uh, and you got to have a few coins in your pockets if you're gonna have a girlfriend, and she's
Sure.
cute and fine and all that kind of stuff. You want to take her to the movies and all that kind of stuff. And I was busted. I was broke as a
Um,
joke,
yeah.
and it caused me to go do things that I wasn't accustomed to doing, and I did. And because I was a student athlete, I was a football player, and I had great leadership because I played quarterback. So most quarterbacks kind of lead the team. And so when I fell off academically and I went back to the streets and I became a doughboy. I like I said, I started to do things that actually destroyed in my community. And when things started to change, because everything around me was dying, I mean drastically. You know, friends killing each other, kidnapping each other. You know, knowing that law enforcement could take you down at any time. I mean, that's a penitentiary and a death chance every single day when you're living that life. But because I knew that I had several grandmothers who were interceding and praying on my behalf, you know, and I would run sometime from the law enforcement, right? And my friends would say, "Man, you need to go back to school because they can't get you," right? And so they planted that seed, and I went back to school. And when I got back to school, I had found out there was a computer era because I was devastated. I was first team All American at Compton Community College, and my coach, who was Art Perkins, he also was national football champion, world champion. He coached at the for the Ravens, and he said, "Man, you can come back to school so long as you leave the streets behind you." And I did. And but when I got back, and he went to go check the computer to see how far I was off academically, I was already eligible. It was just in the early '80s when the computer thing started to take place, and it was a glitch, and I was never ineligible. It was a
Wow.
computer error, so that put me in a place where I was in a state of shock. And I went back to the hood and
Mhm.
connected with Rick Ross, and everybody kind of knows the story from there because you got Freeway Crack in the System,
Mhm.
you got Snowfall, you
Mhm.
got all these different American Made, Who Killed the Messenger, all of these movies and books, Dark Alliance, all these monumental movies and things that took place that I'm a part of, and I haven't even said anything. I haven't
Wow.
I haven't even. This was the first book that I actually wrote. I mean,
Wow.
co-authored anyway,
Mhm.
and so people, even Pete Carroll, he said, "Man, you got an amazing story. You
Mhm.
should go and and share that with with people." And I said, I thought about it for a long time because I was
Mhm.
always saying, this game is for keeps.
Mhm.
It's some things that you just don't talk about. People don't really realize that the statute of limitation for attempted murder and murder, there's no statute of limitation. And what
Mhm.
I did was cause drastically death upon our own people in the community. Because
Mhm.
anytime anybody's involved in that process, and I was young, so what? But
Mhm.
bottom line, I was ignorant. I was 19, 20, 21 years old. And Greg, man, I tell you, man, when I say I'm blessed to have an opportunity to say something right now to our people,
Mhm.
listen, I was facing life with no possible parole, none.
Mhm. Mhm.
Gil Garcetti was our district attorney, and who actually he he pardoned me. I had to go sit down and talk to the three wise men, the elders. They had these black robes on, and I felt like I was sitting in front of the Ku Klux Klan. I ain't gonna kid you, I did.
Wow.
And they said, "Son, tell us what happened."
Mhm.
And so I don't know if you remember, but back then when they had the Rampart scandal and they had the
Yes.
the crooked cop scandal with the LAPD and the sheriffs, who was under investigation for taking drug money and stuff like
Sure.
that. And I was one of the kids who, at that time, were young guys who they caught, and they planted drugs on me. They beat me. I had 32 stitches here, teeth knocked out, stitches up on the top of my head, arm broke. Um, and so when Rodney King got his butt whooping, I said, "Is that all he got?" Because what happened to me? It wasn't recorded though, but I took it for what it was worth. When you play in
Mhm.
that kind of game, you get what you got coming to you. Now both people were wrong. All
Mhm.
of us were wrong. I was wrong. Law enforcement was wrong. But where do we get it right? And that's what was turning points in my life that made me say, hey, Gil Garcia said, you go back to school. He let me go back. Yeah, he sure did. After facing that amount of time, he pardoned me. He prosecuted his officers. I think it was 35 officers that got prosecuted for planting and stealing drug money. Over $60 million worth of evidence that they had seized and stole. That's on record. That ain't my record. That's their record. Yeah. And so when they talk about Snowfall, everybody always say, man, oh, you Leon and Snowfall. And I just said, no. I don't really want to talk about it. They asked me, did I watch it? I said, I didn't have to watch it. I actually lived it. So I didn't have to watch it. I already knew what it was all about. And they'll sell ratings to change the story, but that's how it goes in that space. I'm not mad. I'm not upset. I'm grateful. I'm still here. I'm still able to provide for my family. And taking on this journey to write, to share, to let my people know that there is a way out.
I got a little testimony too. I think there have been times in life where the brothers of the street are the ones that say, "Hey, you know what? Get out of here. So go do this. This ain't for you. You know what I'm saying?" I do believe those are angels moving among us.
Absolutely.
And I heard you say the three wise men. That really is a thing, huh?
Yeah, it is. That's what the word said. The word said, "In all your ways, acknowledge Him." And so, go talk to the wise men. And Gil Garcetti wrote a book maybe during the pandemic, and his son Eric Garcetti, who I came into the mayor's office and worked for. Dealing with the grid program around the urban areas. So I worked the grid program, and he didn't even know that his father had pardoned me. He just said, I said, man, did you know your dad pardoned me? He said, what do you mean, coach? He said, man, I was facing 44 years to life in prison, and your father said, no, I'm sending you to school. He said, but you can't sue the city, because he knew that the crooked officer planted drugs on me and beat me after that. And I was young kid. I was happy with that. I was like, man, let me go back to school. And so I went back to school and ended up playing at Cal State Northridge. And I broke a few records that probably still stand to this day. I'm the first wide receiver to throw for 7 touchdown passes all in the same year. I was in the back of Sports Illustrated, what they call Faces in the Crowd.
Wow.
Yeah, and this was after the street game. I was in the newspaper maybe 100 different times in regards to doing positive stuff. So I know that there's a way out. They even gave me a little radio show that I used to go on every Monday after practice. I'd go down to the radio station, and they had me on there talking about this great arm Coach Ward could throw the ball. I wasn't a coach, but I was a player then. But then becoming a coach, and that was my first coaching opportunity. Cal State Northridge, Coach Bob Burt. My senior year, I was all conference as a wideout, and he said, "Man, you know what? You should come back and coach." I said, "Really?" I did it, and I came back and coached, and then that's when the feds came to the school, and I said, "Oh Lord!" I thought I was out of this game, right? So I'm in my class, and some suits come to the door, suits meaning FBI, and knock on the door, and they stick their head in, and everybody in the classroom turn and look at me. And I'm like, what the hell y'all looking at?
Yeah.
I was the only black student in the class, right? And so Dr. Tommy Lee White, he's now, I think, a track coach at SC now. He went to the door and he said, how can I help you? And they said, do you have a Cornell Ward? I just put my head down, because I'm thinking, I got out the game. I went back to school. This thing is over. And so when I went outside to speak with him, I look down the hallway and I see suits that way. I see suits this way. I see suits that way. And I imagine they thought I was going to run because I was an athlete, but I didn't. And they asked me, they said, man, tell us what happened on April 14th, 1987. And I told him, oh, that was the day that the crooked cop set me up. He said, well, man, we want you to come to court and you know, talk about this. And I was like, ain't no way. I'm not going to talk about no cops, what they did. I'm done with this stuff. And shoot, man, they said, well, if you don't, this is what's going to happen. And so I walked home, and when I got to my dorm, my phone rang, and it was a collect call from Rick Ross. And I was like, little man, you know, I said, man, what's going on? You know, why are these feds at my school? You know, this. And he's like, well, man, I need your help. They're going to grant you immunity. And I said, immunity? I was a senior in college. I was like, man, what the hell is that? Because I just didn't know, right? And he said, man, well, anything you did in the game, they just going to make it go away. But you got to tell them what these crooked cops did. And so I end up going and having to testify against officers who, you know, used misconduct in order to capture.
Sure.
So it was a tough thing, man. It was really tough at that time. I was young.
Wow.
I think I was 22 years old, somewhere in there.
Wow, that's really, really something. And those effects of those days, man, is still.
Well, I mean, and just think where I said there's a way out, and how God will use you to do His will of the work. Right now, I deal with all the top brass, every captain, the deputy chief, the chief of police. I mean, every day they'll call me because, you know, my relationship to the streets is still really good in a better way, in a safe way, to keep people safe. When there's a homicide, when there's some gang involvement problems that's going on, I'm able to make calls, and we put fires out so that there's no retaliatory incidents that are taking place. You know, right now we're 52% down as of last year.
Wow.
I mean, we're way down. Praise God for that one. You know, but
that's interesting work. I've seen that for myself. I've seen the homies on the street give you much deference. I've seen it for myself. I'm like, oh yes, okay.
I'm humble as church by though, man. I take it with a grain of salt that, man, I'm just grateful to be here, to be able to share, to be able to love, to be able to forgive. You know, and a lot of times guys don't realize that not forgiving somebody else, but forgiving yourself. So you can learn how to forgive those who spitefully do you wrong, or, you know, or judging you, or talking about you, or mad at you regarding to what may have taken place in your past. You can get by it. There is a way out. You can get by it.
Let me ask you a question. Do you still speak with our good friend, Chief Parks?
I have not seen Chief Parks. I love him. I hope he get a chance to see this interview. You and Mrs. Parks, Bobby, and your son, I love you guys dearly. I just want to thank you for making a commitment back to the community. You started this thing. I know a lot of people taking credit for what you've done, but it was you, Mr. Parks, and I really appreciate you.
He's been on Coffee Conversations. I was able to track him down and get him on there. But, you know, it's so funny how you don't see him around and then everything. But when he decided, I remember I was having a conversation with him at the E.J. Jackson turkey giveaway. And he was talking about, retirement. And he was saying, and I believe he was trying to decide if he wanted to run for mayor.
Okay.
I think something he wanted to run for, and he said, if I don't get it, I'm just going to retire. He said, I just want to sit at the house and let drool
roll down my beard and that's it, you know. And I feel like that's what he's doing. He's just like, hey man, I did that, you know, and just sitting down and you know, being graceful in these later years, you know.
Sure.
Mhm. But that's a good guy right there. I don't care
Yeah.
what nobody says. I
Man,
mean,
listen here.
if you all only knew the hit he took when we did our fireworks thing, you know,
Woo.
from if I started naming names, you'd kind of be surprised or not. But you know,
I
you would
remember when we only had 5,000 folks show up. Then we went to
remember.
10. We went to 10,000. Then we went to 20,000, and then we went to 50,000. And Coach Carol P. Carroll was like, "Coach," we said, "Cornell, where you get all these people from?" I said, "Man,
Right.
man, they showed up. We
They
didn't have
showed up.
one incident.
No,
Nobody got robbed.
right.
Nobody got beat up. Nobody was mad. It was just peace,
Yeah.
love, and happiness. You know, what I
Yeah.
mean, you had the show, you had the, you had the gospel, you had a little bit of hip hop, you had the jazz, you had the R&B. It was just, man, it was
Yeah.
a beautiful thing, man. I tell you.
Beautiful thing. Well, you know, we tried to keep it going there with the in the new administration, but hey, it's all good. That
So,
one's written in the book.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Uh, what is
Yes.
the most challenging piece of uh, gang advocacy that you've ever encountered? Like the one where you just didn't know if you were going to succeed in what you needed to have happen. Tell me that story.
Well, when we talk about the gang situation, and I've never been a gang member,
Mm.
but because of the lifestyle that I chose, being a doughboy and from the community,
Uh-huh.
a lot of these guys and girls work for me in
Mhm.
different communities. I
Mhm.
was really pretty much international in the hood. And,
Mhm.
if you got any type of international relationship, you have access to money. Um, being that happened, so a lot of the elders that are now 50, 60, and close to even 70
Mhm.
would know my relationships with them, and it's their grandkids and sons and daughters kids who are
Mhm.
kind of actively in this space right now of gang violence.
Mhm.
So we those type of typical relationships normally still are strong enough to make a kid put the gun down to help save a life.
Mhm.
And that's where we are really right now, because we know that the things that we chose to do back then is what is really destroying our community now. And now, of course, we're not pointing no fingers, even though we know that it's bigger than us.
Mhm.
I mean, I was just watching a documentary just last night about Oliver North, you
Mhm.
know, who actually was headed in the CIA and funding and stuff back here to the U.S., which then ended up getting into the hands of Rick Ross, but
Mhm.
then go from Rick Ross to a coach Ward. I mean, I wasn't coach back then, but Cornell Ward, and then
Mhm.
Cornell Ward have little guys. So you got all these little bitty Rick Rosses that went from the neighborhood to around the country, and
Mhm.
now we in a family that's making $2 to $3 million every day right here.
Mhm.
And that's really insane, because that's how it really happened. I mean, when we talk about Dark Alliance, Nilo Bandone, Norman Massey, these guys are in they in the White House. They in a relationship with Oliver North day in and day out, making sure that the Sandinistas and the Castros and these guys who are having this war, but the way they're making the money is sending drugs here to Los Angeles or across the United States. Actually, just not LA, but one of us,
Mhm.
to spread this, to me, straight death. That's all it
Mhm.
did. The dope gang kills everything you love. And that's the message that I teach. When I became a college coach and a high school coach, a coach period, I would all tell all of my student athletes my testimony, because it don't belong to me. It's for us to give to somebody else. So it was
Mhm.
important that I got to those boys that became men, and I got a bunch of them. I've helped over 10,000
Sure.
babies,
Sure.
black and brown, move on
Sure.
to higher education, higher learning. I got a gang of them. I got PhDs and master's degrees, and I got 23 head football coaches under my belt.
Look at
you
that.
know,
Look at
right?
that. It's,
All
it's
over in the city. And
isn't that awesome when you have when you see the young people that came up under you,
oh
they're
man,
like,
that's why I
oh man,
said there is a way out.
yeah.
I'm a stick to that one. There is a way
Mhm.
out, even when it don't look like it, even when it don't sound like it, even when we just we're like confused state of mind. There's still a way out.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, and
Yeah, wow. Were you at that town hall meeting that Maxine Waters had where she called out the CIA director for all the subject you're talking about?
I was not. I was there when Juanita McDaniel.
Juanita Millender McDonald.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. And so what people didn't realize is that, you know, she passed away. The police guy that was there, he passed away. I mean, it was, intricate people who was in there at that meeting that was speaking against the CIA, and they
Mhm.
were just coming up there, man. I was like, man, I'm good. I'm not messing with that stuff.
Mhm.
Let me
Mhm.
go back and coach.
Yeah.
God gave me a grace to go back and coach. I went back and coached because Gary Webb, who wrote the book Dark Alliance,
Yeah.
he said, Coach, he said, man, a man that don't stand for nothing will fall for anything. And I said, Gary, I'm just going to go back and coach. If you want to do it, go ahead. And now, Gary, how does a man commit suicide by shooting
Mhm.
himself in the head twice? How does that happen?
Mhm.
Come on now. So you know
Mhm.
who was behind that stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's insane. If somebody
Yeah.
even think about believe, and then guess what? Nobody ain't said nothing about it to this day. They
To
still
this day.
don't,
Mhm.
don't say nothing.
Mm. Wow. Wow. Yeah. That's a deep history in LA right
Yeah,
there.
it's deep.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Something else. Something else. All right. So now, we see, uh, we certainly are coming out of the pandemic, unprecedented or not. Maybe we're still in it. I don't know. I got my mask still, but, it is, things have changed. The society seems to be even more violent. There's just a lot going on. There's a whole new generation of folks out there. Or during the pandemic, we saw so much, stuff that's always been going on in our community, but we, certainly been amplified, right? Because
Mhm.
capturing it on the cell phone, and now
Sure.
you see, when after the murder of George Floyd, I mean,
Hmm.
all this money is flowing in to try to help Black folks and all this here, you know, what do you think of all this as an OG in it? And you
You
lay
know
your
what?
eyes on all this stuff. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts, uh, Greg, is that we should still focus on what matters to us as individuals, um, and stick to that, because a lot of times from what I've learned is that generation after generation, there's something that they kind of set for us as a trap.
Mhm.
I mean, like in the 50s and the 60s, and then it came in the 60s and the 70s, and then it came in the 70s and the 80s, and then the 90s when all these babies are in prison, and now in the 2000s, they got drugs, now fentanyl, they got all
Mhm.
this, stuff that just a baby don't even have to inhale it. You can just touch it and die.
Man.
I mean, come on, man. It's about maybe 3 months ago. Uh, uh, a mother called me and she said, "Coach, I need you to help me find my son." And I did find him, but he was in the morgue. He was
Uh,
19. It was five people, five babies, because I think it was ages 16 through 19 who was taking fentanyl. It was three girls and two boys. They all was dead because experimenting. And as I tell people all the time, the dope game will kill everything you love. And now that fentanyl stuff, that you get that in the hospital. The it ain't like they have to go to the street to get it. It's everywhere. They say they got good fentanyl and they got bad. But bottom line, it kills.
Mm-hmm. Wow, this is a fascinating discussion. I just, man, so many. You're right. So many
Yeah.
children and
Yeah.
even adults. I mean, people are
Oh
whacked out of
man.
their mind walking around these streets. It's like the zombie movies almost.
Man, listen, when when they did they did the movie called Who Killed the Messenger, and the brother Michael, I forget his last name, who played Rick Ross in the movie, and then in real life he passed away as with a drug overdose.
Oh, Michael K. Williams.
Yes,
Yeah,
and I love that cat, man. I was like, man, I was really happy for him, and but see, what we don't know on the other side is that that wasn't something he just did. He it was always being done, and it probably was done in moderations, and that was just the time that, he expired.
got to
But
be careful.
man, listen,
Wow.
though I know because my own child, my oldest child, who's a college graduate, had an honor roll. She got married. She gave me a grandson. Just a year and a half ago, she passed away, and it was because of the trauma that her daddy put her through as a child. People say, "Oh man, you shouldn't blame yourself because she was grown." Yeah, well, I'm telling you where it started because of my own ignorance and having a child around violence, around trauma, which post trauma, generational trauma, all those things we still have to deal with as people so we can break the generational curse. That's a must, man. That's gotta happen. That's the heart of a black man. Trying to find that way. And people do it in their own different ways. I choose to use my Lord and Savior Christ Jesus.
Amen.
And
Amen.
so my baby called me, man. I'm talking about Greg. My baby called me. She said, "Daddy, daddy, daddy." She said, "I love you, I love you, I love you." And I said, "Baby, I love you too." And then she hung up the phone and called her mom and said, "Mom, I'm tired." Totally opposite conversation that she had with her dad, but she called her mom and said, "Mom, I'm tired." Man, 3 days later, my baby was gone. She was laid there asleep. And, when I got the call, I was with Congresswoman Maxine Waters, and her son-in-law had just passed. So I'm like, I couldn't believe that I was getting a call, first of all. And then um, I talked to law enforcement. I said, if you would, could you please not allow anyone to touch her until I got there. And so when I got there, something was done that has never been done. Normally, when somebody passes away, they don't allow the parent to come and wrap the baby and put her on the gurney and all, because there's investigations and all this other stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, it was allowed for me to do that, but I knew that God stepped in and made that happen because that's not the norm. So
Man,
this is a
man.
tough.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
tough one,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm
My
grateful.
condolences, brother. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that's a lot, sir.
And so just yesterday, my grandson, we're going to church. It's Mother's Day. I'm in there. So he in there with his great granny.
Hmm.
And I'm in there with my mom. And the preacher is talking about how strong your mother has been, and this and this and this and that. But not knowing that my grandson lost his mom. And I seen him with his head down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's it really is something, and I'm listening to you, coach, and I'm just like, wow, we carry these burdens as men often silently, and it's a lot to, I hear you and I feel you, and oftentimes, our manhood, we not try to show everybody our
Yeah.
feelings and what we're going through. It's a way that we are programmed to handle situations, but heavy is the head that wears the crown, I suppose, and we see all of these things.
Absolutely.
We see it in our generations coming up before, but coming up behind us, what has happened, and life choices, I suppose. Um, Life circumstances is probably a better way to describe it as I'm talking to you here. And I just say, man, I just pray God's blessings in your life, and just offer you comfort, and, as you move through these things. What do you say, if you don't mind? What do you say to your grandson as what did you
Oh
say to him?
man, he's gonna be an author himself.
Nice.
I said, Papa, I said, man, what do you want to do? He said, Papa, it's not my fault.
Mhm.
That's the title of his book. It's not my fault. Trauma and mental illness by 11-year-old. It's going to be something you're going to want to read. Believe me.
Wow.
He's a phenomenal kid, man. He had to fight because kids are raw now. He go back to school and kids say, man, that's why your mama dead, or
Yeah, all that
and
stuff.
he has to
Yeah.
fight, and or he getting bullied and he gonna fight back. I put him in martial arts so he can just protect himself, man. Because
Mhm.
the world we live in, it is what it is.
What it is.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
that's necessary.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
I don't want him out there bullying nobody. I told him, but you got to be extremely observant.
Mhm.
Know where you are at all times. Know your space. Know who you can call, who you can get to. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
and in the school system, I mean, they do make you a snitch. Now
Mhm.
y'all heard that from coach. They do. Oh, don't hit them back. Go tell. And
Yeah.
they don't have to walk home with you
Right.
when your mama or daddy can't come pick you up. They
Yeah.
can't catch you around. They catch you around the block. Remember 3 o'clock? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. They
Yeah.
better fit. They got to figure out a better way. But
Wow.
that's the very first thing. Because we grew up. If somebody hit you, you better hit them back.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
get it, and I don't like the retaliatory stuff too. But you can't keep bullying and getting punked, and I don't want you punking nobody.
Mhm.
So there's some things that we have to do.
Mhm.
You know, uh, but
You mentioned Maxine Waters, Congresswoman Maxine Waters. You still work with her?
I haven't since I've joined the team with the new mayor,
Okay,
Candace.
that was gonna be my next question. Are you okay? So you're still in the game.
Yeah, man, praise God, I'm still
Praise
here.
God. Okay.
The journey is definitely um, a blessing to be able to come to work and help save lives.
So,
'Cause
from your
that's what it
viewpoint,
is.
what is the blessed hope for this new administration? Politically speaking, we're in a space. You have Karen Bass in LA, you got Rex Richardson out in Long Beach. Mayor Butts is still in place in Inglewood. You got
Yeah.
Sister Sharif out there at Compton.
Compton,
You got
yes,
Sister
yeah.
Lula over there in Carson. Look, all across the way in the
What they
Midwest,
say.
we squaring in the black mayor in Chicago,
I
New
said, man,
York.
I don't know. They talking about a man world. It might be yeah, it's a woman's world.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
But I
yeah.
tell you, I'm extremely happy, elated for this opportunity to work under the administration. Her first and top priority is to getting people off the street that are homeless. From trauma, mental illness. And she got a program called Keep Safe, Safety, in regards to getting our folks off the street and getting them into good housing, not just a week or two and then you back on the streets. No, we're talking about some real housing, and she's made it a state of emergency. So the governor and then all the supervisors, everybody are jumping on board, and she got this thing really effectively moving in the right direction. They've
Nice.
already housed at least over 5,000 people in real housing.
Mhm.
So, and we're
That's
still
that's
moving
powerful.
every day.
Hey, get just got started and everything. That's good. And you know what? She's the right woman for the job. That's what I
Oh
know.
yes, most definitely. And
Mhm,
she got about 7 or 8 deputies
mhm,
that they moving right in gear with it, boy. They
Nice.
ain't playing. They moving.
Right.
They making it
Nice.
happen. Movers,
Nice.
shakers. That's what they are. They
Mhm.
making it happen. So
Mhm.
I'm
Now, have
glad.
things cooled down in City Hall since the little controversy they had a little while back with the open mic?
Oh, yeah. I mean, sometimes you know, they ask. Now I see why God had me in this place, because now I'm the wise man, right? I'm the
Yeah.
wise man with this gray, right?
Sure.
And so I'm always giving young people
Mhm.
counsel, just to say, man, that they have to see a black and brown unity,
Mhm.
unified together. We can do this together. If you doing it by yourself and they doing it by themselves, that means we're separate. A house divided won't stand. So
Mhm.
we got to do it together. And so that's what I do, day in and day out, even in our communities, because we're still having those same issues,
Mhm.
with the gang violence and that's taking place, territorial, but there is a way, because I tell people, just the other day, I was talking with my manager, and I was like, man, this is what we should do. And they would see a unified front if they see me and you. You're
Mhm.
Hispanic, I'm black. We go together and we deal with this situation together. They see us working together and they looking at us kind of strange, but it's only because they see us working together.
Mhm.
If it's just you, or if it's just me, now they don't see that. But when
Mhm.
they see us together, everyone achieves more, and that's team.
Yeah, yeah, nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice. That's a fact, and
Yes, sir.
we must move forward together. I do see a lot of division, and when that incident happened, I know in my world it caused me to just kind of really look around, and I had to check myself. Like, okay, let me not have mistrust or anything like that. Let me just kind of soldier through and walk in the light. And that's what we're talking about, is walking
Sure.
in light and love, and that
Yeah.
will overcome all. And that's what brings the unity, right?
Yeah,
Love is
absolutely.
centered in unity, right?
Mhm.
So, wow. Okay, that's what's up. And are the what about the Los Angeles Police Department? Seems to be doing okay in
Oh,
this
you
in a
know,
world where, like, right, you see police
I, I,
departments
I,
being
I tell you
ostracized.
what I did discover in even dealing with law enforcement is that, um, having those kind of conversations that they're not accustomed to having with
Mhm,
someone like myself and where I come from made an impact and a difference. And
mhm,
I say that because when I was in the streets doing all that work and they was after me and never caught me until something was unethical took place, right?
sure.
But then when I got out of the game and I went back to school and I went to college and I played against the deputy chief. He was at Long Beach State and I was at Cal State Northridge, you know, and we played against each other in college ball, and so when he heard the story, he's like, Coach, he's like, man, I remember you on one side and me on the other. I said, look at you, you the deputy chief, and here I am working in the mayor's office doing what? Help saving lives. That's all it is. We
Nice.
want people safe.
Yeah.
So it can happen, and that's why I always said, and you hear me say it again, there is a way out, and you got to trust in yourself and trust in the Lord at all
Yeah.
times.
Trust in the Lord. Ooh, that's my mantra right now, brother. Trust in the Lord. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. All right, we got a little bit of time left, so I just want to
Okay.
engage you here, Coach. I need you to put your coach hat on and
All
tell me
right.
what's wrong with them Chargers, man.
The Chargers, well, I mean, they young. I mean, they got another year or two to really to be a contender. They did take one of our babies, Dylan Henley. That's Big U's son.
Okay.
I remember when I had him when he was like 7 or 8 years old, and he was playing quarterback. And so, Big U would bring him over and put him in the little quarterback camps that I would have, and man, that dude was City Player of the Year as a quarterback. And then he went off to Nevada Reno
Nice.
and went to safety, and then he went from safety to linebacker. And then his linebacker year, he led the nation, I think, in interceptions his sophomore year. And then he played another year and did really well. And then he graduated and went over to when he graduated, he went to Washington State for 1 year and he did a great thing. He was in the top 10 best linebackers in the country, and now he signed third round to the Chargers. So we got a homegrown baby that's in the game. Now when you think about coaching after I got out of the street, I got so many kids in the NFL. When you talk about Super Bowl rings, I happen to have coached several kids that have Super Bowl rings, and Pete Carroll, I obviously has looked out for me and my family for a long time. Over 20 years now. So when he was at SC and now being at the Seattle Seahawks, so I've been to the Super Bowl and all that kind of stuff. I got blessed.
That's nice.
But man, I tell you, it's an experience that one don't want to miss. Have the opportunity to be there. It's real humbling.
Yeah, I mentioned the Chargers just because I'm from San Diego originally, and then of course I had 3 uncles up here in LA, so I feel like part of me is from LA, but I'm born and raised San Diego, and I have to go with the Chargers, and I was mad when they moved to LA, but I have a love-hate relationship with them because they always bring us to the brink, but never can make it happen.
Right. Well, I like that young quarterback. I mean, I think he's fantastic. The kid out of Oregon.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah. He got a bright future.
All right. Will the Rams return to the top ranks soon?
Oh, well, they got work now. I got great friends over there. I Jonathan Franklin is he's community relations director, I believe, and Yarbrough, the receiver coach. We played against each other in high school, and so I know a lot of the guys over there, so I'm sure they'll be all right. Well, one thing about winning, they already won it, so they walk around that big old fancy ring on their hand.
Yeah. That's good. And then switching over to the Lakers, here we are again. I gotta say this publicly. I apologize to Coach Ham because I really did at the beginning of the season. I was saying you ruined our team, you suck. I was just really, really mad at the Lakers, and look, here they are.
LeBron James in his club, boy, they getting it done now. They got to get past Boston, but they there. That's all you can say. And when you're there, you got the opportunity. So that's the key. If somebody listening to this message is when you got to have the opportunity, you got to make something happen.
That's right. Got to make it happen.
What they say, don't find an excuse, find a way.
Nice, find a way. All right, y'all. The book is called The Heart of a Black Man.
Yes.
Where can I get it there, Coach?
They can get it from me or with a signed copy from me. But, if you can go on Amazon, you can get it. But if you want to get a signed copy from Coach, you can DM me on Facebook, Coach Cornell Ward, or you can email me, Cornell Ward 1964 at yahoo.com.
I'm going to put your email in the chat right now.
Yeah. And folks can get to me. I am I'll be on a tour soon. They're doing a book tour, speaking engagements, all that kind of stuff. They got Coach set up. Now, I can tell you this right now. If you're listening to this, I'm not missing church on Sunday.
Tell them now.
So, don't even try that one. You get me Friday or Saturday, but definitely not on Sunday. I know who got me thus far. I know who will take me all the way. So that's just not up for an optional topic of conversation.
Amen. Well, we're going to have to get you out here to Long Beach, or you know what? I got a book signing for you. I'll talk to you about that offline. Okay. I got one we can create together. Oh, for
yes,
sure.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, Coach Ward. Yes. All right, y'all. Cornell Ward 1964 at yahoo.com. Hit him up. Get that signed copy. Very profound, brother. I'm going to say, meet a lot. I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of brothers and sisters over my time in this industry, being a broadcaster, being working at the epicenter of Black culture, with KJLH radio. And I have to say that Coach Ward is just one of the most honorable brothers like ever. And, just always a good spirit. You could hear, and even in this interview here, is, humble and that, but he's a change maker, and he's out there making a difference. Every time I've seen him, he's making some stuff happen, for our people, for our culture, for our community. And Coach Ward, man, God bless you for the work that you do, man. This is just all good.
Thank you very much, Brother Johnson. I appreciate it. I'm grateful and honored that we have this conversation. I look forward to doing much more with you soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, y'all. We can get this Coffee Conversations at our Facebook page, Coffee Conversations with Greg J. You can also go to the website, which is Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. All of our Facebook pages, Hannibal Media Group, Coffee Conversations with Greg J, Columbus Song Coffee Company, Beach City Perspective. We got a lot of places. The audio will be repurposed and put out there as a podcast. And you can get that wherever you get your favorite podcast. And just type in Coffee Conversations with Greg J. Most importantly, just love one another, y'all. Love one another. Love one another. Peace and blessings.